The big meeting room was full of strange sounds. Different alien voices mixed together as their computers changed words from one language to another. Ambassador Sarah Chun stood in the middle of the huge round room. She was very small compared to the tall alien beings around her. The Zephyrians looked like they were made of crystal and glass. They made clicking sounds that meant they were not happy. The nebulae looked like floating clouds of gas. Their computer said they were laughing. At her. Sarah had been waiting for this day for months. Earth wanted to join the big space alliance. All the powerful alien races worked together to protect their worlds from danger. But first they had to look at what humans could do in a fight. Ambassador Veltar from the Hegemony Empire spoke up. He had 4 arms and his voice sounded like rocks grinding together. His computer changed his words to English. The humans want to join our fighting group? What can people who still use bullets possibly help us with? The Alien Council had been studying human weapons and ships for weeks. What they found made them think humans were babies when it came to space war. Human guns shot metal bullets. Human rockets used old chemical fuel. Human spaceships were tiny compared to alien ships. Zephyrians had energy guns that could burn entire planets. The Vorthan people could bend space and time itself. Even the peaceful Etherians had weapons that could make whole fleets disappear. Sarah kept her face calm even though she could hear the aliens making fun of humans. She had been a diplomat for many years. She knew how to stay cool when people did not respect her. "Great beings of the Council," she said in a clear voice. "Humans might be new to fighting in space, but we have something many others do not have. We can change and adapt. We learned this through thousands of years of war on our own world." The laughing got louder. Ambassador Kellanara from the Zephyrians leaned forward. Her crystal body made rainbow colors in the room's light. "Your people fight with metal pieces and bombs made of chemicals. Our computers show us that your biggest warships are smaller than the ships we use to carry mail. How could adapting help when you have to fight the Devourers?" Sarah felt cold when she heard that name. The Devourers were the most scary thing in the galaxy. They were like a huge group mind that thought as one. They had been eating up star systems on the edge of the galaxy. Their bioships were huge and seemed to never end. Their technology got stronger every time they destroyed another civilization. Dozens of alien races had already been completely destroyed by them. Veltar spoke again. His 4 arms moved in a way that Sarah had learned meant he thought she was stupid. "We think your excitement is nice, but the Council cannot risk our defense. Plans on people who have not proved themselves. Maybe in a few thousand years, when your technology gets better, we can talk again." The other aliens made sounds of agreement. Sarah felt angry but kept her voice steady. "Then we will prove ourselves when the time comes. Humans do not ask for free help. We ask for the chance to stand and fight next to you when the Devourers come to this part of space." The Council voted quickly. Every alien race said no. Humans would stay protected by the inner worlds, but human soldiers would not join the defense fleet. They were too backward, too small, too unimportant to matter in the coming war. Sarah listened to each vote against humanity. She had expected this, but it still hurt. These aliens looked at humans and saw primitive cave dwellers with simple tools. They could not see what humans really were. As she walked out of the meeting room, Sarah turned on her special communication device. It could send messages faster than light across space. "Admiral Harrison, they said no to our request. It looks like we have to do this alone." The answer came back through space with crackling sounds. "Then we will show them what primitive humans can really do. Start phase 1 of the Prometheus project." Sarah smiled for the first time that day. The aliens thought they knew everything about human warfare because they had seen human guns and rockets. But they had only seen what humans wanted them to see. They did not know about the secret projects. They did not know about the hidden research. They did not know that humans had been preparing for this day since they first looked up at the stars. The Prometheus project was the biggest secret in human history. While the aliens were studying human ships and weapons, human scientists were studying alien technology. Every piece of alien equipment that came to Earth was taken apart and studied. Every alien visitor was watched, and their technology was quietly scanned. Humans had been learning alien secrets for years, but the aliens had made one big mistake. They thought that because human weapons were simple, humans were stupid. They did not understand that humans had been fighting wars for thousands of years. They did not know that humans had learned to use every advantage. No matter how small. As Sarah walked to her ship, she thought about what was coming. The Devourers were moving closer to Earth every day. When they arrived, they would expect to find primitive humans with simple weapons. They would find out that humans were much more dangerous than anyone thought. The galaxy was about to learn something important about humanity. Humans did not just adapt to new situations. They took every new challenge and made it into a weapon. They learned from every enemy. They improved every tool. And when someone made the mistake of calling them primitive, humans showed them what thousands of years of warfare experience could really do. Sarah got on her ship and set course for Earth. Behind her, the Alien Council was already planning their defense against the Devourers. They were confident in their advanced weapons and their superior technology. They had no idea that the species they had just rejected was about to change everything on Earth. Admiral Harrison was reading the message from Sarah. He was not surprised by the Council's decision. He had expected the aliens to say no. In fact, he had been counting on it. The rejection gave humanity something they needed more than alliance. It gave them the element of surprise. Harrison turned to his staff officers. Begin immediate construction. Of the prototype, I want the shipyards working day and night. We have maybe 6 months before the Devourers reach our space. When they get here, they need to find something they have never seen before. The officers saluted and left to carry out their orders. Harrison looked out the window at Earth's orbital shipyards. They looked normal from the outside, just like the simple human technology the aliens had studied. But inside those shipyards, something incredible was being built. Something that would make the galaxy question everything they thought they knew about human warfare. The aliens had mocked human weapons because they shot metal bullets instead of energy beams. They would soon learn that a metal bullet moving at the speed of light was more dangerous than any energy weapon. They had laughed at human chemical rockets. They would discover that chemical explosions could be made much more powerful with the right alien technology. Most importantly, they would learn that humans did not just copy alien technology. Humans improved it. They made it better. They took the best parts of everything and combined them in ways no one had ever thought possible. The war was coming, and humanity was ready. 6 months passed, and the outer edge of the galaxy became quiet. The Devourers had eaten the Kelani star system in just 3 days. Their bioships stripped entire planets down to nothing but rock. The Galactic Council's warning systems went dark one by one as the swarm moved toward the center of the galaxy with terrible speed. Admiral Castara of the Zephyrian Defense Fleet watched the computer screens with growing fear. The Devourers were not just conquering worlds. They were learning. Each time they fought, they took new technologies and new ways of fighting from the species they destroyed. Their ships now had energy weapons that looked exactly like Zephyrian designs. Their attack pods showed signs of Vorthan gravity technology. They are learning faster than we thought they would, Admiral Castara told the Emergency Council meeting. The Hegemony's quantum bombs worked for exactly one battle before the Devourers figured out how to stop them. The Etherian phase shift. Attacks lasted 2 fights before they adapted. The council meeting room had changed. Months ago, it had been full of confident aliens who thought they were the masters of the galaxy. Now it was full of scared beings who watched their best weapons become useless in real time. "Where are the humans?" asked Ambassador Veltar. His forearms moved in worried patterns. "Their home system is right in the path of the Devourers. Surely they have been eaten by now." "Actually," Sarah Chun's voice cut through the room as she walked in with her usual calm face, "we have been rather busy." All the aliens turned to look at the human ambassador. She looked the same as always. She wore the same simple diplomatic clothes. She had the same ordinary features that had made her seem so unimportant months ago. But something was different in her eyes. There was a quiet confidence that made several aliens shift uncomfortably in their seats. The Sol system reported huge Devourer fleet movements 3 weeks ago, Kalanara said. Her crystal body flickered with nervous energy. Our sensors found at least 12 bioships entering your space. Your silence made us think that ... that we were dead? Sarah's smile was sharp like a knife. We have been testing an idea. You see, the Devourers adapt to better technology by eating it. But what happens when they find something they think is beneath their notice? The room became completely quiet. Outside the meeting room, long-distance sensors were starting to detect something impossible. They were getting energy signals from the Sol system? Not the biological pulses of Devourer ships, but something else entirely. Something that registered as human. The Devourer advance force did reach Earth, Sarah continued. Her voice was calm, but there was something dangerous underneath it. 12 bioships, each one bigger than our entire home fleet. They scanned us, looked at our primitive weapons, and decided we were not worth their time, just like you did. Admiral Kestara's translator had trouble with the emotional complexity of her next words. You are saying they ignored you? Not ignored, underestimated. They sent their smallest ships, their newest creatures with the least experience. They thought they were harvesting primitives with bullet guns and chemical rockets. Sarah's smile got wider. They were wrong about the bullets. And they were very wrong about the chemicals. The long-distance sensors suddenly screamed warnings across the council room. Something massive was coming from the Sol system. Something that should not exist. Ladies, gentlemen, and various beings, Sarah announced, I would like to formally introduce you to the UHSS Prometheus. This is humanity's first flagship. We took the liberty of adding some Devourer biotechnology to our design. Amazing what you can learn when your enemy thinks you are too primitive to be worth their full attention. The computer display lit up with a contact that went against everything the council thought they knew about human abilities. The ship coming toward them was not just big. It was impossibly complex, covered with energy signatures that combined human engineering with clearly alien technology. How? Whispered Ambassador Veltar. His forearms hung limp at his sides. We did what humans do best, Sarah replied. We improvised, we adapted, and we overcame. The Devourers made one critical error. They gave us access to their technology without bothering to learn what we were truly capable of. Now, shall we discuss how humanity can help defend the galaxy? The aliens stared at the sensor readings in shock. The approaching ship was reading as almost 2 kilometers long. Its energy signature was unlike anything they had ever seen. It showed patterns of human technology mixed with Devourer biosystems and traces of every major alien technology in the galaxy. Impossible, Admiral Kestara breathed. Our intelligence report said humanity's biggest ships were barely 300 meters long. They were, Sarah agreed. The Prometheus is what we built after the Devourer's failed invasion of Earth. Captain Harrison, you are authorized to show our capabilities. A new voice came over the communication system. It was calm and professional, with the tone of someone who had spent years commanding ships in battle. This is Captain Marcus Harrison of the, We are approaching the Kepler defense perimeter. Request permission to demonstrate our defensive capabilities. Demonstration? Kalanara's crystal form was flickering rapidly with confusion. What kind of demonstration? The kind that shows what happens when you give humans access to superior technology and then leave us alone for 6 months, Harrison replied. We have prepared a small display of our new weapon systems. There is a dead Devourer bioship in this system, correct? One that your combined fleets could not destroy? The aliens looked at each other nervously. There was indeed a derelict Devourer ship floating in the system. It was one of the smaller ones, but it was still huge. Its biological armor had resisted every weapon the Galactic Council had used against it. Even dead, it was a reminder of how helpless they were against Devourer technology. Yes, Admiral Castara said slowly. But that ship's armor is impossible to penetrate. We have tried every weapon system in our combined fleets. You have tried every weapon system you know about, Harrison corrected. But you have not tried human weapons enhanced with Devourer biotechnology and improved with the best alien science in the galaxy. The Prometheus appeared on the visual displays as it dropped out of hyperspace. The ship was a nightmare fusion of organic curves and mechanical precision. Its hull seemed to pulse with life, covered in bioluminescent patterns that shifted and changed like the skin of some deep-sea creature. Weapon ports opened and closed along its surface like breathing pores. Preparing to fire, Harrison announced. Target is the derelict bioship. Weapon is a tungsten penetrator rod, accelerated. Using gravitational manipulation technology we learned from the Vorthan. Guidance system uses quantum targeting algorithms we borrowed from the Etherians. Projectile weight is 50 kilograms. Velocity will be 30% of light speed. The aliens stared at their sensors in disbelief. 30% of light speed was faster than most of their energy weapons. A solid metal rod moving at that speed would hit with the force of a nuclear bomb. Firing, Harrison said simply. The tungsten rod left the Prometheus so fast that the sensors barely registered it. One moment it was inside the human ship's railgun. The next moment it struck the dead Devourer bioship with the force of a small, star-going supernova. The alien vessel did not just explode. It disintegrated. The molecular structure of its biological armor was torn apart by the kinetic impact. The shockwave rippled through space, causing every ship in the Allied fleet to shake despite their protective fields. Complete silence filled the communication channels. Every alien in the fleet was staring at their sensors, trying to understand what they had just witnessed. A human ship had just destroyed something that their combined technologies could not even scratch. That projectile, Admiral Castara finally whispered, it was moving at 30% of light speed. How is that possible? The same way everything else about this ship is possible, Captain Harrison replied. The Devourers came to Earth, expecting to find primitives with crude weapons. What they found was a species that had spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of war. We did not just fight them. We studied them, we learned from them, and when they left us for dead, we took apart their technology and made it better. Sarah Chen's voice cut back into the conversation. The Devourers made the same mistake you all made. They assumed that because our weapons were kinetic, they were primitive. They never considered that we might be using kinetic weapons because we had perfected them over thousands of years of fighting. A tungsten rod moving at 30% of light speed does not care how advanced your shields are. It is going through them. The implications hit the alien fleet like a physical blow. Humanity had gone from dismissed primitives to the most dangerous species in the galaxy in less than 6 months. They had taken the Devourer's own advantages and turned them into weapons that surpassed anything the galaxy had ever seen. How many ships like this do you have? Admiral Castara asked, her voice barely audible. Right now? Just one, Sarah replied. But the Prometheus is a prototype. We are currently growing 7 more bioships in orbital yards around Earth. Each one incorporates lessons learned from our first encounter. The Prometheus dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler defense area, and every sensor in the Allied fleet went crazy. The ship was huge, almost 2 kilometers of impossible design that seemed to mix human engineering with organic curves and glowing biolights. Weapon openings covered its hull in patterns that made veteran fleet commanders. Targeting computers crashed when they tried to figure out where to shoot. Admiral Castara stared at the computer display aboard her. Flagship, the crystalline spear. This is impossible. Our intelligence reports showed humanity's biggest ships were barely 300 meters long. They were, came Sarah Chun's voice over the communication channel. The Prometheus is what we built after the Devourer's failed invasion of Earth. Captain Harrison, you are authorized to show our full capabilities. The bridge of the Prometheus was amazing to see. It mixed technologies that should not have been able to work together. Captain Marcus Harrison stood at the center of a command deck that pulsed with living circuits. Human control systems merged perfectly with biomechanical systems that had been reverse-engineered from Devourer technology. His crew of 200 worked at stations that responded to thoughts as much as to touch. Their minds were partially linked to the ship's hybrid artificial intelligence. "Gunnery, prepare full demonstration array," Harrison ordered. "Let us show our new allies what human creativity looks like when we have proper materials to work with." The Prometheus began to change before the eyes of the watching fleet. What appeared to be weapons emerged from the ship's organic hull. Sleek barrels grew out of the living metal like flowers blooming. The target was a derelict Devourer bioship, one of dozens left floating in the system after the Allied fleets. Last battle. The alien vessel was still massive, its biological armor having stopped every weapon the Galactic Council had used against it. "Firing kinetic penetrator," announced Lieutenant Commander Sarah Rodriguez from the weapons station. "Projectile is a tungsten rod. Accelerated to 30% of light speed using gravitational manipulation we learned from Vorthan technology. Guidance system uses quantum targeting algorithms we copied from the Etherians. But the delivery method is pure human engineering." The primitive kinetic weapon struck the bioship with the force of a small star. The Devourer vessel did not just explode. It was completely destroyed, its molecular structure torn apart by the impact. The shockwave traveled through space, causing every ship in the Allied fleet to rock despite their protective fields. The communication channels fell silent for a long moment before Admiral Castara's voice came through with shock. "That projectile was traveling at 30% of light speed. How is that possible with kinetic technology?" "The same way everything else about this ship is possible," Captain Harrison replied. "The Devourers invaded Earth expecting to find primitives with crude weapons. What they found was a species that had spent 10,000 years making the art of war perfect. We did not just fight them. We studied them, learned from them, and when they left us for dead, we took apart their technology and made it better." The organic parts of the Prometheus pulsed with biolights as Harrison continued the demonstration. "Our hull is grown from modified Devourer bio-armor, but made stronger with human metal science. Our power source combines their organic fusion with our antimatter containment. Our weapons—" He paused as dozens of gun ports opened across the ship's surface. "Our weapons are what happens when you give humans who have been fighting each other for thousands of years access to alien technology." The computer display showed the Prometheus covered with weapon systems that seemed to shift and change in real time. Energy cannons that could phase between dimensions. Missile launchers that fired self-copying swarms. And everywhere, the clear shapes of human kinetic weapons. Railguns, coil guns, and mass drivers that could speed up projectiles to incredible velocities. "The Devourers made one crucial error," Harrison continued. "They assumed that because our weapons were kinetic, they were primitive. They never considered that we might be using kinetic weapons because we had made them perfect over thousands of years of warfare. A tungsten rod moving at 30% of light speed does not care how advanced your shields are. It is going through them." Admiral Castara's voice was barely a whisper. "How many ships like this do you have right now?" "Just one," Sarah Chun's voice cut in from the diplomatic channel. "But the Prometheus is a prototype. We are currently growing 7 more bioships in orbital yards around Earth. Each one uses lessons learned from our first meeting with the Devourers. And unlike our enemies, we are not just adapting their technology, we are improving it." The meaning hit the Allied fleet like a physical blow. Humanity had gone from dismissed primitives to possibly the most dangerous species in the galaxy in less than a year. They had taken the Devourer's own evolutionary advantage and turned it into a weapon against them. "There is something else," Harrison added, his voice taking on a serious tone. "The Devourers left Earth thinking they had recorded all our capabilities, but they only saw what we wanted them to see. We have been preparing for their return. And when they come back expecting to face the same primitives they dismissed, they are going to get a very unpleasant surprise." The Prometheus began to show more of its capabilities. Sections of the hull opened to reveal manufacturing bays where new weapons were being built in real time. Organic systems pulsed as they created ammunition that adapted to different targets. The ship was not just a warship. It was a mobile factory that could build whatever it needed for any situation. Our manufacturing systems used Devourer biological engineering, Harrison explained. But we improved them with human industrial methods. We can build new weapons, new defenses, and new ship sections while we fight. The Devourers adapt by eating. Other species, we adapt by engineering better solutions. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez spoke up from her station. Captain, we are detecting movement from the other derelict bioships in the system. They appear to be responding to our biosignals. Harrison smiled. Yes, I forgot to mention that part. The Devourer bioships we studied did not just give us their technology. They gave us the ability to communicate with other Devourer technology. Watch this. The Prometheus sent out a complex biosignal that reached the other dead Devourer ships floating in the system. Slowly, impossibly, the alien vessels began to power up. Their biological systems came back to life, but something was different. The ships were no longer connected to the Devourer hive mind. Instead, they were responding to commands from the human ship. We call it the Liberation Protocol, Harrison said as the alien fleet watched in amazement. We learned how to free Devourer bioships from their collective consciousness and put them under our control. These ships are no longer weapons of conquest. They are tools of defense. The freed bioships moved into formation around the Prometheus. Their weapons powered down and their biological systems shifted to peaceful configurations. In minutes, the human ship had turned a graveyard of alien vessels into a small fleet under its command. This is impossible, Admiral Castara breathed. You have turned Devourer technology against itself. We have done more than that, Sarah-chan replied. We have shown that the galaxy's greatest threat can be turned into its greatest defense. The Devourers think they are the ultimate predators because they can adapt and consume. But humans have been the ultimate predators on Earth for thousands of years. We know how to hunt, how to trap, and how to turn predators into prey. The demonstration continued as the Prometheus showed off systems that combined technologies from across the galaxy. Zephyrian energy weapons enhanced with human targeting systems. Vorthan gravity manipulators powered by human antimatter reactors. Etherian phase shift drives controlled by human artificial intelligence. Every species in the galaxy has contributed to what you see before you, Harrison said. But the Devourers made one critical mistake. They gave us access to their technology without understanding what humans are truly capable of. We do not just copy technology, we improve it, we combine it. We make it better than it ever was before. The Allied fleet watched as the Prometheus performed maneuvers that should have been impossible. The ship phased in and out of normal space, fired weapons that bent the laws of physics, and commanded other vessels through pure biological communication. It was a masterpiece of engineering that represented the best of every species in the galaxy. The question now, Sarah-chan said, is whether the Galactic Council is ready to work with humanity as equals, or if you still think we are too primitive to matter. Because the Devourers are coming, and when they arrive, they will find a very different Earth than the one they left behind. Admiral Castara looked at her sensor readings again. The human ship was showing energy levels that exceeded anything in the Allied fleet. Its weapons could destroy anything the galaxy had ever built. Its technology represented a fusion of sciences that no one had thought possible. What do you need from us? She asked quietly. Nothing, Harrison replied. We do not need your permission to defend our world. But we would prefer to fight alongside allies rather than alone. The choice is yours. The Galactic Council faced a decision that would change the balance of. The Devourer hive mind had eaten 14 star systems and absorbed the technology of 6 different species. Its bioships had grown larger and more deadly. They now had quantum weapons, gravity manipulators, and energy shields that could stop the combined firepower of entire fleets. It was the top predator of the galaxy, and it knew it. This was why the readings from the soul System made no sense at all. The biomass it had left to consume the primitive humans was sending strange signals. The energy patterns suggested the presence of devour biotechnology, but the quantum resonance was all wrong. The patterns were too organized, too deliberately engineered. Most disturbing of all, the signals were coming from structures that read as clearly human in origin. The hive mind's collective consciousness rippled with something it had never felt before, uncertainty. The humans had been cataloged, analyzed, and dismissed as unimportant. Their weapons were crude kinetic projectiles. Their ships were laughably small. Their technology was thousands of years behind the species it typically consumed, but the biomass that had invaded their system had gone. Silent 3 days after first contact. And now something was approaching from human space. Something that registered as both familiar and impossibly alien at the same time. Deep within the hive mind's primary bioship, a construct the size of a small moon, nerve networks that spanned continents fired with confused signals. The collective decided to investigate personally. No mere scouting force this time. The hive mind would bring its full attention to bear on this anomaly. The armada that left for the Sol system was devastating in its scope. 50 bioships, each one a mobile ecosystem of destruction. The smallest was larger than Earth's moon, covered with weapon systems absorbed from a dozen conquered species. The largest was a living world, its surface covered in manufacturing centers that could produce new biomass at an incredible rate. The hive mind expected to find a dead system, its planet stripped bare by the advanced force. Instead, it found something that challenged every assumption in its collective memory. Earth was not only still there, it was thriving. The planet's orbital space was filled with structures that the hive mind recognized as shipyards, but they were unlike anything it had ever seen. They were growing ships, not manufacturing them. Massive biomechanical constructs that pulsed with familiar energy signatures, but arranged in patterns that spoke of deliberate design rather than natural evolution. "Welcome to the Sol system," came a transmission on frequencies the hive mind had never heard before. "This is Admiral Harrison of the United Human Space Force. We have been expecting you." The voice was coming from a ship that had not been there moments before. The Prometheus materialized out of what appeared to be empty space, its biomechanical hull shimmering as it dropped some form of advanced cloaking. But it was not alone. 7 other ships flickered into existence around the hive mind's armada, each one a unique fusion of human engineering and devour biotechnology. The hive mind's collective consciousness recoiled. The readings were impossible. These ships were using its own technology, but refined, improved, weaponized in ways that defied its understanding of biological engineering. "You're probably wondering what happened to your advanced force," Harrison's voice continued, calm and professional. "They are not dead. We are not monsters. But they did provide us with some very interesting biological samples. And unlike you, we actually understand the concept of reverse engineering." The lead bioship of the hive mind's armada, a kilometer-long nightmare of organic weapons and adaptive armor, turned to face the human fleet. Its psychic emanations carried confusion, rage, and something else, recognition. These humans were using its own evolutionary advantages against it. "You see," Harrison continued, "you made a fundamental error in your analysis of our species. You assumed that because our technology appeared primitive, we were incapable of adaptation. But humans have been adapting to new threats for 200,000 years. We have been improving our weapons and tactics for 10,000 years. And we have been dreaming of the stars for centuries." The Prometheus began to change. Its biomechanical hull rippled and shifted, revealing weapon systems that combined human kinetic weapons with devourer organic technology, railguns that could grow new barrels in real time, missile launchers that fired self-replicating swarms, and at the ship's core, something that made the hive mind's collective consciousness scream in recognition and horror. "You gave us the tools to build the perfect weapon," Harrison said. "A fusion of human ingenuity and your own biological perfection. But unlike you, we did not just adapt, we innovated. We improved, we made it better. The hive mind realized its mistake too late. It had given humanity access to its greatest advantage, the ability to rapidly adapt and incorporate new technologies. But it had failed to understand that humans would not just copy its methods. They would improve them, refine them, and turn them into something entirely new. The first shots of the battle came from the hive mind's armada. Massive bioships unleashed torrents of energy weapons, gravitational distortions that could tear apart matter at the molecular level, and swarms of smaller organisms designed to board and consume enemy vessels. The human response was unlike anything in the hive mind's collective memory. "All ships, execute Pattern 7, Admiral Harrison commanded from the bridge of the Prometheus. Let us show them what human warfare looks like when we have proper tools." The 8 human vessels did not try to match the Devourer's raw firepower. Instead, they moved with a coordination that spoke of minds that had studied warfare for the entire history of their species. The Prometheus and her sister ships flowed through space like a school of hunting fish, their biomechanical hulls shifting and adapting in real time to counter each new threat. The first shock to the hive mind came when its gravitational weapons failed to lock onto the human ships. The vessels seemed to exist in a state of quantum uncertainty, their mass and position constantly shifting in patterns that made targeting impossible. This was human engineering at its finest. They had taken Etherian phase shift technology and improved it, creating ships that existed in multiple dimensions at the same time. The second shock came when the human ships began to fire. The weapons that emerged from the Prometheus were not just kinetic rounds. They were intelligent projectiles that could adapt their trajectory mid-flight, splitting into multiple warheads that sought out weak points in bioship armor. Each round was guided by quantum-entangled targeting systems that made them nearly impossible to intercept, and they struck with the combined force of human metallurgy and devourer, biological enhancement. But the true horror for the hive mind came when it realized the human ships were learning from the engagement in real time. Each weapon that struck them was analyzed, countered, and improved upon within minutes. The biomechanical nature of their hulls allowed them to adapt at the cellular level, developing new defensive systems faster than the devourers could modify their attacks. "Impossible," the hive mind's collective consciousness transmitted across all frequencies. "You are primitives. You cannot adapt faster than we can evolve." "Evolution is slow," Harrison replied, his voice carrying the weight of 10,000 years of human warfare. "Engineering is fast, and we have been engineering better ways to kill each other since we first picked up rocks." The tide of battle turned when the human ships revealed their true nature. They were not just warships. They were mobile factories, capable of manufacturing new weapons and defenses on the fly. The Prometheus extended organic tendrils that wrapped around a wounded devourer bioship, not to destroy it but to analyze it. Within hours, the human vessel had incorporated new biological systems into its own design, becoming stronger and more adaptive. The hive mind watched in growing horror as its greatest advantage was turned against it. The humans were not just using devourer technology. They were improving it, refining it, and creating hybrid systems that surpassed anything the collective had ever produced. The smaller bioships in the Devourer Armada began to malfunction. Their organic systems were being infected by something the humans were transmitting. A virus that attacked the biomechanical nature of Devourer ships themselves. The virus did not destroy. It corrupted, turning the collective's own adaptive systems against it, forcing bioships to evolve in directions that made them increasingly incompatible with their original design. "What have you done?" The hive mind transmitted in growing panic as its ships began to tear themselves apart from within. "We gave you exactly what you gave us," Harrison replied. "The opportunity to adapt. The difference is, we designed our adaptation to be beneficial. Yours was designed to be destructive." The surviving bioships hung in space, their organic systems in chaos, their collective consciousness fragmented by the quantum virus. For the first time in its existence, the hive mind was faced with a choice: destruction or adaptation. "We offer you an alternative," Harrison continued. Join us, not as conquerors but as partners. Humanity has learned that the strongest alliances are built on mutual benefit, not domination. We can teach you what we have learned about cooperation, and you can teach us what you know about biological adaptation. The battle for the Sol System lasted 18 hours and changed everything the galaxy thought it knew about warfare. The Devourer hive mind had brought its full attention to bear. 50 bioships representing thousands of years of accumulated conquest and adaptation. Against them stood 8 human vessels, each one a hybrid of technologies that should not have been able to work together. The engagement began with the hive mind's traditional tactic: overwhelming firepower designed to shatter enemy formations before they could adapt. Bioships the size of asteroids unleashed torrents of energy weapons, gravitational distortions that could tear apart matter at the molecular level, and swarms of smaller organisms, designed to board and consume enemy vessels. The human response was unlike anything in the hive mind's collective memory. "All ships, execute Pattern 7, Admiral Harrison commanded from the bridge of the Prometheus. Let us show them what human warfare looks like when we have proper tools." The 8 human vessels did not attempt to match the Devourer's raw firepower. Instead, they moved with a coordination that spoke of minds that had studied warfare not for thousands of years but for the entire history of their species. The Prometheus and her sister ships flowed through space like a pack of hunting wolves, their biomechanical hulls shifting and adapting in real time to counter each new threat. The first shock to the hive mind came when its gravitational weapons failed to lock onto the human ships. The vessels seemed to exist in a state of quantum uncertainty, their mass and position constantly shifting in patterns that made targeting impossible. This was human engineering at its finest. They had taken Etherian phase shift technology and improved it, creating ships that existed in multiple dimensions. Simultaneously, the second shock came when the human ships began to fire. The weapons that emerged from the Prometheus were not just kinetic rounds. They were intelligent projectiles that could adapt their trajectory mid-flight, splitting into multiple warheads that sought out weak points in bioship armor. Each round was guided by quantum-entangled targeting systems that made them nearly impossible to intercept, and they struck with the combined force of human metallurgy and Devourer biological enhancement. But the true horror for the hive mind came when it realized the human ships were learning from the engagement in real time. Each weapon that struck them was analyzed, countered, and improved upon within minutes. The biomechanical nature of their hulls allowed them to adapt at the cellular level, developing new defensive systems faster than the Devourers could modify their attacks. Impossible, the hive mind's collective consciousness transmitted across all frequencies. You are primitives. You cannot adapt faster than we can evolve. Evolution is slow, Harrison replied, his voice carrying the weight of 10,000 years of human warfare. Engineering is fast, and we have been engineering better ways to solve problems since we first picked up tools. The tide of battle turned when the human ships revealed their true nature. They were not just warships. They were mobile factories, capable of manufacturing new weapons and defenses while they fought. The Prometheus extended organic tendrils that wrapped around a wounded Devourer bioship, not to destroy it, but to analyze it. Within minutes, the human vessel had incorporated new biological systems into its own design, becoming stronger and more adaptive. The hive mind watched in growing horror as its greatest advantage was turned against it. The humans were not just using Devourer technology. They were improving it, refining it, and creating hybrid systems that surpassed anything the collective had ever produced. The end came when the human ships revealed their final innovation. Working together, they created a weapon that the hive mind had never encountered. A quantum virus that attacked the biomechanical nature of Devourer ships themselves. The virus did not destroy. It corrupted, turning the collective's own adaptive systems against it, forcing bioships to evolve in directions that made them increasingly incompatible with their original design. "Stand down," Harrison transmitted as the hive mind's armada began to tear itself apart from within. "You have lost this engagement, but we are not like you. We do not need to consume our enemies to grow stronger. We can learn from them. The surviving bioships hung in space, their organic systems in chaos, their collective consciousness fragmented by the quantum virus. For the first time in its existence, the hive mind was faced with a choice: destruction or adaptation. We offer you an alternative, Harrison continued. Join us, not as conquerors, but as partners. Humanity has learned that the strongest alliances are built on mutual benefit, not domination. We can teach you what we have learned about cooperation, and you can teach us what you know about biological adaptation. The response from the Galactic Council was immediate and panicked. The implications were staggering. Humanity had not only defeated the Devourers but was offering to ally with them. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted so dramatically that every species had to reconsider their position. This is Admiral Harrison to all Council vessels. The transmission reached every ship in the galaxy. The Devourer threat has been neutralized. But more importantly, we have proven that the galaxy's greatest strength is not superior technology or overwhelming force. It is the ability to adapt, learn, and grow together. The hive mind's fractured consciousness considered the offer. It had spent thousands of years consuming and adapting, never considering that cooperation might be more effective than conquest. The humans had shown it something new. A form of evolution that did not require the destruction of other species. We accept, came the hesitant response from the lead bioship. But we do not understand this concept of partnership. Harrison's voice carried a note of warmth. Do not worry. We will teach you. Humanity has a lot of experience turning enemies into allies. It is one of our oldest and most important skills. As the news spread across the galaxy, the Galactic Council faced a new reality. The species they had dismissed as primitive had become the apex predator of the galaxy. Not through conquest, but through the simple human ability to turn any challenge into an opportunity for growth. Admiral Kestara was the first to respond from the Allied fleet. Admiral Harrison, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I formally request that humanity take leadership of our combined defense forces. It is clear that we have much to learn from your species. With respect, Admiral, Harrison replied, we do not want to lead you. We want to work with you. Leadership implies dominance, and dominance leads to the kind of thinking that created the Devourer problem in the first place. What we propose is partnership, true partnership, where every species contributes their strengths to the common good. The communication channels buzzed with translations as species across the galaxy tried to understand this concept. Most galactic civilizations were built on hierarchies, with stronger species dominating weaker ones. The idea of true cooperation between equals was revolutionary. How do we begin? Asked Ambassador Valtar, his forearms moving in patterns that his species used to show respect. We start by sharing, Sarah Chun's voice cut into the conversation. Every species has knowledge that others can use. The Zephyrians have mastered energy manipulation. The Vorthan understand gravity. The Etherians know quantum mechanics. Humans understand adaptation and cooperation. The Devourers know biological engineering. Together we can build something greater than any of us could achieve alone. Over the following weeks, something unprecedented happened in galactic history. Species that had been enemies for thousands of years began to work together. Devourer bioships arrived at Council worlds not as conquerors but as partners. Their biological manufacturing capabilities were put to work creating new technologies that benefited everyone. Human engineers worked alongside Zephyrian energy specialists to create power systems that were both efficient and sustainable. Vorthan gravity experts collaborated with human physicists to develop new forms of space travel. Etherian quantum researchers shared their knowledge with human computer scientists to build artificial intelligences that could help solve problems across multiple dimensions. The first joint project was the construction of a new class of ships. Not warships, but exploration vessels designed to seek out new life and new civilizations. Each ship was crewed by members of multiple species. With humans serving as coordinators and diplomats, Captain Harrison stood on the bridge of the newly completed UGS Harmony. the first ship of the United Galactic Fleet. Around him worked beings from a dozen different worlds, their various technologies and perspectives combining to create something that was greater than the sum of its parts. "Captain," reported Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez, now serving as the ship's chief of operations, "we are receiving a distress signal from the Andromeda Galaxy. Unknown species requesting assistance against what appears to be a mechanical invasion force." Harrison smiled as he looked around the bridge at his diverse crew. Zephyrian crystal beings worked alongside gaseous nebulae. Devourer bioforms coordinated with human engineers. Former enemies had become partners in the greatest adventure any of them had ever imagined. "Set course for Andromeda," he ordered. "Let us go show another galaxy what cooperation can accomplish."